Hi, readers. It's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. Welcome to my December massive book haul. But you knew this was happening, right? Because it is the season, and this is the time where people gift you books, or they give you gift cards, or you find books while you're shopping for other people. All of those things have happened. I also stuffed my Kindle a little bit. I just kept finding books that I was interested in, and they were cheap. I don't go over about $2.99 on those Kindle books. So I have 6 Kindle books. I have 16 physical books. And I have 2 that I got on Libro.fm. Yeah, that's where we are. So let's start with the books that I purchased. The first book I bought on the 6th of December, I went to Barnes& Noble. I had a gift card to continue to finish the funds on that gift card. I purchased The Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose. I wanted to have all of her books. This is a cute little novella. It was a really fast read. I definitely read it in one day, a few hours, really just super fast. But it is about Molly, our friend, and her guy, and her work, and the Christmas party that's coming up. And it was so cute. It was just a nice little sort of pick me up during the holidays. No one is murdered in this book. It is just a mystery. And then the Barnes& Noble counter sale, usually when they have a book they're featuring, is about $5 for the book and special deal. And this was it, David Sedaris, Holidays on Ice. My partner Lisa loves David Sedaris. I love this cover. It seemed like a good book, and I thought I was going to get to it, but I haven't yet. I still could, though. But this one is, I'm sure, nonfiction. As one of the blurbs says, not remotely politically correct or heartwarming. So warning for those of you who are looking for something that is different than that. But they're hilarious, David Sedaris. I have read some of his contributions to the New Yorker. I have not read any of his books that I remember so far, so this might be a possibility for me. Like I said, he's also on This American Life now and again. He's very prolific. He's written tons of books, and he's funny. And then this one is problematic for me, I have to admit, but American Gods by Neil Gaiman. So I know that there is a controversy about Neil Gaiman, and I don't know what it is. And it's not that I have not looked at it on purpose for any reason. I just haven't looked into it. But we found this in the little free library. We were just going that one day to put some books in, and Lisa said she wanted to read this. I think she's seen the series or part of it, but she wanted to read the book. And again, I think there is a sexual predator type situation happening with him, but I don't know the details, so I do want to look that up. So I'm aware of it. I don't want you to think I'm, turning an eye away from it. I'm not. But this one is about Shadow, who's been in jail for 3 years, and then he wants to return to Eagle Point, Indiana, to be with the wife that he loved and start his new life. But then one of his best friends is killed in an accident, and someone shows up named Mr. Wednesday, and he's a very interesting, enigmatic man, and he knows things he shouldn't know. So this is kind of I would say, a fantasy, supernatural, maybe kind of book. Neil Gaiman's books are always very fantastical, I guess is the word. I think this is a 10th anniversary edition, but it's used. It's not in the best shape. So we may or may not keep that on our shelves because we are aware of the problematic issues to some degree. We're not aware of what they are, but we're aware that they exist. I got this at my library for, I don't know, a quarter. I probably gave him $1 for it, but I've always wanted to read this, and now is a really good time for me to read a book about hope and politics and the American dream. So I grabbed this one because it was there. It's not in the best of shape either, but this is a book that Barack Obama wrote a long time ago about what his call for a new kind of politics that builds upon shared understandings that pull us together as Americans. And quite frankly, that is what I want. I don't care about party. I care about us being drawn together. So yeah, this was written in 2006. So this is an old book, and I would like to maybe read that this year. I definitely could see that's a possibility. It's not as long as his memoir. Then I couldn't resist this one because it's one of those covers that I just love. And I no longer own this book. I lost it in the storm. And look, ironically, the storm, the snowstorm, but I love The Shining. I have reread The Shining more than once, but I just can't not buy this cover. And I would like to continue to collect more Stephen King's because I had a pretty decent collection of them at one time. And then I didn't. And now I'm just trying to figure out, I have some hardcovers. I have mass market paperbacks. I have a lot of different varieties. So I need to kind of get settled on what I want to collect and keep and what format. But this was a no-brainer because this, I love it so much. So The Shining is about the Torrances. If you've not ever read it or heard of it, it is horror at its deepest level. And the Torrances are going to live in a hotel during the snow season in Colorado because they need someone to be the keeper of the hotel, right? That will take care of it, make sure everything continues to run during this terrible snow in Colorado. Jack Torrance is a recovering alcoholic, and he brings his wife and his son, young son, and his young son hears and speaks to people that other people don't hear and speak to. And so he is noticing there are other people in this hotel that are not alive. What happens to Jack and his family is wow. This one I did not buy on Book of the Month when it was offered, but I did get it on Pango as a Book of the Month copy. And this is the next book in the books written by Meg Schaefer, not a series. I know that Meg Schaefer is not everybody's cup of tea, but I really loved The Wishing Game, so I did pick this one up as well. And this is about two best friends, Jeremy and Rafe, and they go missing in the West Virginia State Forest, and then they reappear 6 months later, but they have no explanation of where they were or how they survived. And then 15 years later, Rafe, an artist, still doesn't remember, but Jeremy has become a famed missing persons investigator, and so he's trying to help figure out what happened and while they were there. And it is a fantasy, and I'm going to be obviously reading more fantasy this year. I just feel it already. I just know. And I would like to get to this one. And I also wanted to own two of these books that she's written. Now, I think she's written other books under another name. There was a controversy about Meg Schaefer too last year because she was nominated for debut novel on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and she had actually already written novels under a different name. So that's that controversy, I know. But this one was Book of the Month selection in July. And like I said, I didn't get it. And probably I didn't get it because that was one of my no-buy months, right? Yeah, I think it was. So I got that one from Pango. Great place to get old Book of the Month club books or sell them if you like. Speaking of Book of the Month, here's Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I just talked about this in my most anticipated January release is because this is releasing in January, but I did get an early copy of it through Book of the Month. And I explained there then, but I'm just going to say this is about a man whose wife is driving somewhere and he's on the phone with her, and suddenly he hears a crash and everything stops, no communication at all. Her car is found at the edge of a cliff. Her phone is still in her car and she's not. He assumes she's died, but then years later he goes away to Scotland to just pull himself together because he's pretty intensely affected by the fact that his wife died in this car wreck. But then he sees a woman in Scotland that he's pretty sure is his wife. But I like Alice Feeney. Read a lot of Alice Feeney's. There's only one or two of hers I haven't finished. And this one just seems like a good choice for me. This is a book I got on Pango as well. I've read this. I will likely read it again. This was a curation for me. This was to get my Ruth Ware shelf complete. And this is, I think, one of two that I still don't have. I have one more left, I think, to get, but I will find it. This is a very lovely little card that was inserted here, so that'll be my bookmark, I guess, when I reread it, which I probably will. But In a Dark, Dark Wood was, I think, the first book of hers I ever read. So it's a bridal shower that a woman named Nora is invited to from by a woman who's getting married, and there was something that happened to them. They haven't spoken. So she goes to the bridal shower and things go awry. And yeah, it's it was the first Ruth Ware, right? Like, and I loved it. It was my introduction to Ruth Ware, copyright 2015. And I'm still a fan of Ruth Ware's, although, excuse me, the last one was not my favorite, the one couple, but most of them I really like. All right, let me separate these because they're all different sources. I went to do my big book reads for 2025, and I featured the book that wouldn't burn and said that I'd like to read that this year by Mark Lawrence. And then I said I would like to read the sequel because he has another one coming out in 2025, April, I think, but maybe in the UK and not here. I'm not sure. Nevertheless, I went ahead and bought the second book because Blackwell's had it. Can you see it? Blackwell's had it on sale. Fantasy. Again, do you see this? There's one. There's one. Yeah, I know. Okay. This is book two. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't know what happens. I just know it's gorgeous. And if I'm going to read the book that wouldn't burn, I'm likely going to read the book that broke the world. And if I don't read either of them, then I will unhaul them. That's just the way that's going to go. We went to a place called Ollie's. Have any of you been to Ollie's? It is like a dollar store, but not a dollar store. Like a Five Below or a Pop Shelf kind of a store where I'm sure that they are given, surplus of things. And my friend and I had just met up, an old friend that I hadn't seen in years, had just met up in the Sam's parking lot. And she said, she knows I love to read. And she said, have you loved Ollie's books? And I said, I mean, I went a while ago. They didn't have that many books. And she said, oh, they have tons of books. It's going to take me a while to get these stickers off of all this, let me just say. But we went to Ollie's one day, and I took my partner was with me, and we took our older daughter. I had no idea. I had no idea. We got a couple of gift books for kids and family members for Christmas, which I can't talk about. But I got 4 books of my own from Ollie. So let's start with that. Sarah Pekkanen, Gone Tonight. Haven't read it. It was originally $16.48, which is a pretty good price for a new release. It was listed as $29. I paid Ollie's $4.99. Ollie's, by the way, is OLLIE''S. Sarah Pekkanen's Gone Tonight is about 41-year-old Ruth Sterling on the run from her past while trying to protect her daughter Catherine, 2 against the world. But how well do they know each other, and what made Ruth, a pregnant teenager all those years ago, run from her life? What is the darkness that lies within is the blurb that I saw, and I am excited about that. Sarah Pekkanen is an author I have really enjoyed, and I've also been feeling really drawn to get back to some thrillers because I don't feel like I read as many. I don't know. I feel like I need to really re-examine what I read this year and just see where the trends were. I'm going to obviously do a reading wrap up of my reading for the year, but it's been a weird reading year for me. I think it's just been like sort of I said this before, it's been like bright, shiny objects, like all the time, right? This one, also at Ollie's. I don't know how much it was originally stickered for, but it was originally published at $27.99. It was $4.99. I have wanted this one, looked at it for a while. I think it was one of my most anticipated reads. This is a historical novel telling the story of Abraham Lincoln's ascendance from a rumpled lawyer to U.S. president to the great emancipator through the eyes of a young immigrant who arrives in Lincoln's home of Springfield from Madeira, Portugal. So I've always felt like that would be a great story. And now I have it on my shelves. So it's been blurbed by Marie Benedict, Jennifer Ciavarini, Treesanne Fowler. So Karen Joy Fowler, are they related? I'm assuming. Also, it wasn't a bright, shiny object necessarily because I've been looking at that one for a while. And this one's been on my list for a while too, and I never got it. This is Horror, Erica T. Worth, White Horse. It was originally a Target title. I don't know how much it was, but it was 20 or 30% off of 27.99, and at Ollie's it was 4.99 as well. I mean, these are hardcovers, perfect shape, never been read or used. Some people are haunted in more ways than one. Stephen King novels and The Occasional Beer at the White Horse have defined urban India Kari James's life so far, but when her cousin Debbie finds an old family bracelet that once belonged to Carrie's mother, it inadvertently calls up both her mother's ghost and a monstrous entity, and Carrie's willful ignorance about her past is no longer sustainable. Yes, please. I need some more horror in my life. And like I said, this one's been on my list for a while. It was blurbed by Stephen Graham Jones. This is an Indigenous peoples book as well, so I am happy about that. I don't have as many of those on my shelves. Grady Hendrix, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and Rebecca Rowanhorse. I don't know Rebecca Rowanhorse, but I do know those first three authors, and I do respect them and their blurbs. Although somebody said Stephen King blurbs every single book that's ever been offered. I don't know that that's true, but he does read, or he says he reads a lot of books. All right, and then this one, you guys, I don't even, we're back to fantasy. My partner walked up to me with this book. I was like, what is that? I don't read fantasy. I don't even know anything about this. All I know is that this was originally $35. It is a box book of Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I paid $6.99. You're gasping, those of you who love these books, and a special edition book like this. I might have paid more than $6.99. I can't, maybe it's $16.99. So I know nothing about this book. I know who Leigh Bardugo is. There is a series about this book. So there's that, which I knew nothing about until I got this. It is a trilogy. I don't know if that's complete, but I think it is. Well, there's a book 1.5, it looks like. So Shadow and Bone, the first one in this series, it has lower than a 4-star review, but again, I don't really care, and it's a Goodreads Choice Award for 2012, so this is old. But this says, surrounded by enemies, the once great nation of Ravka has been torn in two by the shadow fold, a swath of near impenetrable darkness, crawling with monsters who feast on human flesh. Sounds horror-y to me. Now its fate must rest on the shoulders of one lonely refugee who is Alina Starkov, whose regiment is attacked, and her best friend is injured, and she reveals that she has a dominant power that saves his life, and this could be the key to probably saving everyone. So this is young adult fantasy fiction, magical, high fantasy, it says, which I don't know how I'm going to do, but we'll see. I have it. And maybe I have it just because it's so beautiful and I don't want to not have it, which I think is also okay. All right. Then this is a funny story. The next one, my partner sends me a text 3-4 weeks ago that says, have you read this book? And she puts the title of the book in my text feed. And I say, no, haven't even heard of it. Is it good? And she doesn't respond, which is normal for her. She doesn't text consistently. She'll forget about it. She'll get busy, whatever. So, okay. Time goes by. I don't think about the book anymore. But one day I happened to be in Sam's Club buying some things for Christmas, and I see this book. And Sam's Club, if you're not familiar, has some pretty cheap books also. Not like Ollie's, but cheap and new. I see this book sitting there and I say, I wonder if she wanted this book. I'm going to get it for her for Christmas. So I come home, I have a stack of things I'm bringing in. I say, don't look at this stack because there's a book in there that I bought for you. Well, she had already kind of been in that area. So she said, I saw the cover or the color of the cover of that book, and I feel like we might have a problem. Indeed, we had a problem. She had bought it for me. I had bought it for her. So we had 2 copies of Society of Lies by Lauren Ling Brown. She wanted to get it for me because she knows I like dark academia kinds of books, and it sounded like a cool thriller, and it was, sitting there. So we have, I can tell you, even though she probably won't watch this video, And even if she watches this video, she won't watch it on the day it releases because that's New Year's Day and we're all going to be together that day unwrapping Christmas presents. But we're giving this one now to our youngest, who we think will also love it because she loves dark academia. So this is about Maya, who has returned to Princeton for her college reunion, and it's been 10 years since she's been there, and she's looking forward to reuniting with her friends. But what happens is she receives news that one of her friends is dead, and the police call it an accident, but she thinks it's more than that. And I don't know if she thinks that her other people are involved, but there was a club, the Sterling Club, and it was a social club, and there was a secret society within that club. And I love, love, love books about secret societies. I don't know why, because I don't like people to be unkind to others, but there's just something about that I just get there. I get there. Also, my youngest daughter was visiting us at Thanksgiving, and she said, I want to reread Wicked. And she said, I think I'm going to take this with me. And it was on our shelves, and my partner said, that's my book. Don't take it with you. She said, get your own. And she took it. And we didn't know she'd taken it till she left. So, of course, we're laughing about it. And she's always laughing tongue in cheek when she says, don't read that book. It's mine. Go get your own. But so the daughter has it. But the other day we were at Barnes and Noble getting some last minute gifts there for our kids as well. They weren't all books, mind you, but we found this. This has been the month of, oh my gosh, gorgeous bind ups. This is Wicked and Son of a Witch. This is gold leafed edges. This is the map, which is in the original book as well. It is pretty much the same, I think. I haven't opened the Wicked book since I read it years ago, but I think this is pretty much the same design as the original one was. I have not read Son of a Witch. It is one of my things I would like to do this year, is to go back and read that series, at least a couple of them. We did just watch the movie. We've watched it twice, once ourselves with our oldest and once with our granddaughters. But look how pretty this book really is. It's just stunning. I know, we could not resist. It was on sale. It was. I don't know that it still is. I should have filmed this then, but I was sick. I was just trying to barely get stuff done. It was $24.99. I know. I know. And then they had a number of 50% off books, hardcover books, which I always adore. And it was also Triple Points Day. So I got triple points there as well. And I had put this on hold at the library. I'm like eighth in line for this book. Everybody I know is reading this book. Lisa wants to read this book. My youngest daughter wants to read this book. We can't get our hands on it. It's so popular. In fact, Sarah Huckabee, the governor of Arkansas, yes, Sarah Huckabee put this book in the hands of every teacher in the state of Arkansas, as well as every legislator in Arkansas, because she believes in it that much. Sarah Huckabee Sanders now, because I think she got married, right? Okay, so here we go. The Anxious Generation. Were you surprised? Did that build up make you think it was something else? Jonathan Haidt. This is like one of the biggest nonfiction blockbusters of the last year, because it is about the impact of technology on our young people, and especially this particular age of young people that is my granddaughter's age. So the young kids that were born when technology just got like crazy. And in particular, when technology and the COVID pandemic really just became out of sorts. After more than a decade of stability or improvement, the mental health of adolescents plunged in the early 2010s. Rates of depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicide rose sharply, more than doubling on many measures. Why? In this book, he lays out the facts of the epidemic of teen mental illness, then investigates the nature of childhood, and then presents a clear call to action for us to understand how much technology our little children are exposed to, and how do we support them in breaking this cycle that might lead to a number of other mental health issues. He has a PhD in social psychology from the University of Pennsylvania, taught at University of Virginia. He's written The Righteous Mind, which I did not read, but almost did and wanted to. And then, of course, this one. And people are going nuts about this book. So I think this one is important. So we are looking at this because, again, we have grandchildren. So our oldest granddaughter was born in 2007. So she'll be 18 in a month. And so, but we just want, and then the others, our granddaughter and grandson are really connected to tech, and it's their parents' choices, mind you. But I want to know, I want to know more. I want to know more. And I want to know more for my clients and for other people that I care for and other kids in my life. So we both said this is something, and because Lisa works with children and parents all the time, this was an important one for her to pick up too. So that was our stack of hardcovers. Okay, now let's talk about what I hauled on the Kindle and why. I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe in this month, and it was a book club book, as I remember, that I was planning on joining the book club for, but I didn't, for some sure work or life reasons, get to do that. But I did start reading it on Kindle. I borrowed it from my library. And I really liked it. I went through it really quickly. I think I read it in November, and it was just really cute. This is Lori Gilmore. And because I liked it so much, one day I discovered that the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore and then what's the last one called? The Christmas Tree Farm were on sale on the Kindle app. That meant that I could get all three of these for like, I don't know, $8 at the most. And I had some Kindle points, so it wasn't even that much. They were pretty cheap, even with tax. So I have now all three in the series. So I have the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which is book 2. I did not read yet. I read book 1. I already read book 3, which is the Christmas Tree Farm. So I have one more to go. So I feel pretty good about that I hauled those. And I already read 2 of the 3, but I just had to have them. They were like, I don't know, they were like candy. I couldn't stop eating them. And then the matzo ball I was talking about the other day in the Hanukkah video, that I wanted to feature some books about Hanukkah, and this one really had me at, the matzo ball. So this is a romance, it says, of hidden passions, childhood rivalries, and the magic of Hanukkah. But this is about a woman, I talked about this before in that video, that wants to she's a writer, she's very successful, and she loves Christmas, but she's Jewish, and she hates really telling people that she's doing all these Christmassy things and writing all these Christmassy books, and so she doesn't, and then it kind of comes out, I'm pretty sure, and there's a romance there too, so that's always good. The next one is Homegoing by Ya Jassi. This is one that I have wanted to read and didn't talk about a lot, and I don't know why. It is important to me because it's a meaningful story about 2 Black women who have very different outcomes in their lives, and it has a connection to Mississippi, where I currently live. So Homegoing is about 2 sisters, half sisters, and one is sent to a place where people are rich, and she lives in this beautiful place and will marry an English countryman, and everything just goes really, really well for her. And the other sister is enslaved and imprisoned, captured and sold into slavery, and has a very, very different outcome. And so this was one of Oprah's best books of the year, but it explores these paths of these 2 women. And I'm assuming that this goes over a period of time, because it says something about the Civil War and then Jazz Harlem. And I hope that these sisters are reconnected later, but I don't know how they reconcile this, because it just seems like such a heartbreaking tale. However, an important read. And so that one I snapped up when it was on sale one day for $2.99 or something like that. And then the last one I just got today, because I'm reading it for a book club in February, and the book club group that I'm in messaged today, one of our members messaged today and said, hey, this book is on sale for $2.99 on Kindle. Now, when I tell you this, you're going to maybe say, Lori, I think you have that book. Don't you have that book in hard copy from Book of the Month? And the answer is yes. But it is a bigger one and it is easier sometimes for me and faster for me to read on Kindle. So I have a copy of All the Colors of the Dark, which is a book by Chris Whitaker. And it's a big, splashy, hyped book right now. There are some people who don't like it, which is good because everybody can't like everything. But today, which I don't know how long this will happen, but today it's on sale for $2.99. This one is about a man and a girl, and they have a relationship. This I know. And somehow there's a serial killer here, and it starts in the 70s, and something happens, and I think he saves the girl. There's a serial killer situation. So it's like a romance serial killer book. I've never really gotten too far deeply into this plot because I don't want to be spoiled. All right, Libro.fm, two more to go. The Welcome to the Humdong Bookshop by, let me see her name because I can't remember it in my head. Huang Borem, I think is how you pronounce her name. I am reading this currently, and I have to admit I am struggling with it. It started out, I was like, I'm gonna love this book. It had some beautiful prose, still does have some beautiful prose. It is about a woman who buys a bookstore. She doesn't really know how to run a bookstore, but she decides how she's going to do things. She hires a guy to make blend and brew coffee. They just continue to go through really, I guess, the challenges. It's these experiences that they write about in each chapter. She writes about in each chapter, but there's no real plot so far, and I'm about halfway through. So I'm not sure I'm going to finish this one for my book club in January, but we shall see because I'd like to. And I used a credit for both of these, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I know I did. And then The Night in Question by Susan Fletcher. I love this cover. It was talked about, I think, on Currently Reading podcast. I get a lot of my books from Currently Reading, so it was likely there. And this one is an engaging, lyrically emotional novel infused with mystery and wisdom about love, friendship, and the power of forgiveness. So it's Florrie Butterfield. I love that name, who's 87. She has one leg, and she's a very cheerful person. It's in a midsummer evening. There's an accident at Babington Hall, and which is a residence where she lives. It seems like lately I'm drawn to these books about older people who live in these like assisted living residences and things. I'm not sure what that says about me and my future, but there's an accident and she's trying to figure out how could this have possibly happened. So she's trying to help solve this murder, and or is it a murder? I'm not even sure that I know that it's a murder. It might just be something terrible, but also there might be a little love story in here. So it's mystery, thriller, fiction, literary fiction, and I've never read anything by this author before. Jenny Fennell narrates this one. It's 13 hours and 35 minutes if you don't speed it up, and it was published in June of 2024. And I don't know how I didn't hear about this. I do know. I think I didn't listen to all of the podcasts about the books that they were featuring. So I didn't get it. But this one, my bookstore that I choose on Libro.fm. And if you didn't know, Libro.fm supports indie booksellers by giving them a little bit of money when we order books from that store, essentially not from the store, from Libro.fm, but we're using that store as our featured store. I do sometimes change mine up a little bit so I can give the love to more than one indie store, but this particular time, both of these books I supported Fabled Bookstore, which is in Texas, and it's one of my favorite bookstore owners to listen to on the podcast. And so I highly recommend, if you haven't already looked at Libro.fm, the difference there is that you do get credits just like you get on some of these other sites. But the difference is that you are supporting an indie bookseller. And I found out about this because I was in an indie bookseller, which is Square Books, which is another one that I support. So I go back and forth, and I think this one is going to be great. And again, I love this cover, and it's so much fun. Thanks for watching my book haul for the month of December. Thanks for your support, your likes, your comments, you telling me what you're reading. Next year is going to be an amazing reading year. I'm so excited to make these plans and to share those with you very soon. But for now, I have to go and shelve these books in the place that they need to be. And see if I can hold them up, which I'm pretty sure I cannot. Thanks for watching, readers, and as always, happy reading. Bye.